Hey, Misfits Managed Nation. This is your boy, Coach G, and special co host.
Evie, the healer of queens and kings, bowling.
Yeah. And we're missing Lauren, but as I said last week, um, she's moved on to other things. She just felt like the Lord was moving her in a different direction, and we honor that and respect that.
Absolutely.
But the show must go on. And we're gonna actually we talked about this being the last week, but uh, I think we're gonna extend out through the end of the month. And then there's a new show that's going to be taking this time slot called Unbreakable Souls that I'm still formulating with another co-host. That I'm so excited because it's going to be so powerful. But
Okay.
as I say that, I'm so excited about it. But that's why I brought Evie, the healer of queens and kings, on here because we are launching a show. She is the co-host. We're partners. Saturdays on this same Bat channel, Pod TV, and
hmm
Roku, uh, Roku, LinkedIn, Facebook
hmm
Live.
hmm
Um, God, I know I'm missing some stuff.
YouTube, everywhere, everywhere.
Right. So we'll talk about all that later, but it's same
Right.
place. But that'll be Saturdays at 3 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time. So we'll talk more into that in the next couple of weeks. And that's called Kingdom Kings and Queens. You heard it here first.
Right.
Kingdom Kings and Queens. What you got to say about that, Eve?
Absolutely. I say, Kingdom Kings and Queens, we are going to show you, talk to you, be with you, walk with you as you pick up your crown, put it back on, and never place it on the ground again. Our goal is to lift up, get you up, help you up, be with you. The goal is up. Growth requires change. And the first thing you have to do is know who you're.
Yeah, yeah, that's powerful. And actually, Unbreakable Souls is similar because it's putting in a name and a face, as the scripture would say, those things that so easily beset us and separate us from God. Now, both of
Yeah.
these, we're both believers, but both of these aren't Christian church shows. Okay,
You're right.
we're gonna get in the weeds and talk about practical things that us human beings,
hmm
Christians, deal with every day in both of these
hmm
shows, and they're uniquely different. And I think you're gonna be blessed. Let me retract that. I'm sorry, Evie.
Woo,
I
I'm going to say, what?
Yeah, I saw your eyes. I know we're going to be blessed by y'all. Going to be blessed by
Absolutely.
all of this. So, but
Absolutely.
before
We
we get
will be
started,
blessed too.
looks like Shannon's already joined us, so we want to say hello to some of
Hey,
the people out
Shannon.
there. Shannon, we're excited that you're here. Loyal supporter. She's always here. I was just before the show sending out some messages to some of the other people, and if you guys are listening, we want you to participate.
Yes.
Participation is required in this show.
We would like participation. We're not going to hand out points, but we would like you to participate.
Points.
We might hand out some points.
But I think you know what in traditional Misfits Managed Nation format, both of us aren't feeling well, and
Yes.
but we're here because this show must go on. Lauren and I used to do this
Absolutely.
all the time, and Evie's not feeling well today and was having some stuff going on. I'm still recovering from the flu and then getting strep throat. So
Woo.
dang,
Right.
I'm
Talk
just
about
like, dang,
overachiever.
Lord, really? I'm like, Lord, really?
Overachiever. When them blessings, I mean, the blessings will come just as much as the everything else. So
Right,
can't
right.
take the sugar without the salt. You got to get it out.
Right. So our last show, a couple weeks ago, 3 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago, I can't remember. Lauren and I ended with the climb, and we didn't get to finish that. So when I asked Evie to come in and join me, I wanted to continue in that space because I think everybody that I can think of is dealing with some type of climb. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's in some type of climb, not just
Yeah.
dealing with it. They're actually in the midst of the climb as we speak,
Right.
whether that
Walking,
be
climbing. They are
finances,
climbing now.
relationship, yeah, or
Yeah,
trauma.
they are
Come on,
climbing
girl,
now.
go ahead, jump in there, jump in there.
I
Think
said
about
they are climbing now. All of us are climbing now, and I think that that's something. The reason why we're sticking with it for a while is because it's a lot, as Coach would say, it's a lot to chew on, right? Like when you're climbing and you have so much going on, it is very easy to get lost
Right.
on your trip. You know what I mean? And really find yourself um, stagnant, and somewhere along that mountain you stop climbing.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
So we want to delve into some of that. And we talked about that last week. And like I said, we were going to end it this week, but the more we chewed on that, we got a lot to say. I mean,
Mhm.
this is a deep topic that I think is applicable to everybody. And
Mhm.
we want to help. Both of us have a heart for people, and we don't want to leave you broken. Boy, if we told you our combined stories,
Woo!
OMG.
We ain't got
That
that kind of time.
we ain't got that kind of time.
We ain't got that kind of time. We're
We
gonna need
got
a series on that.
well, yeah, yeah,
Right? We
but
might have to do a series on it. Yeah.
yeah, because I think in Kingdom Kings and Queens, we'll probably lead with that because we want you guys to
Yeah.
understand that we're authentic and real. We're
Yeah.
not telling from a perspective of someone else's story. We're talking about life experience,
Yeah.
real, true life
We can't.
experience.
We actually went through, so we can help y'all get through.
Come on, come on, sis.
Right. So I mean, I feel like that's a big thing that we don't do. And not just in the Christian community, not just in males, not just in females. We stopped remembering, right, that the older women are supposed to teach the younger women. The men are supposed to teach us and tell us and lead and listen. And so there's different things that we don't pass down. And I don't know when we became the society that says they'll figure it out. What happened?
What's
We used to
up with
be,
that?
yeah, when did we get here? We used to be in a place where, I tell my kids all the time when we're talking or when we're going through something, I drank the muddy water so you don't have to. Like
Mm,
you know what I mean? I did it already. So there's some things that you don't have to go figure it out. I have a backstory. I can tell you some things. Um, and then at the same time, it's not just my kids that need to know it though, right? Like there's some people that are older than me that no one ever told it to. And there's some people younger than me that no one ever told it to. And there's some women that no one will tell it to because they have whatever their issues are with you. I- You know what I mean? I think we've gotten to a place where we've become a very selfish nation. And that's just not who we want to be. And so we
no,
want to be as authentic. We want to tell you guys when it's bad, it's bad. When we don't feel good, we don't. I probably sound like I'm talking through a nasal situation because my it's tough.
I'm hoping that my coffin don't start, but yeah, to your
We out
point,
here in ailments. So I guess what I'm saying is we're sick and we're still trying
yeah,
to remember that we are people always say the church is the hospital. Well, then you should know there's sick people there,
right.
right?
Well, but I think it's two paradigms. You've got this group over here that is not sharing.
Mm,
You also have this group over here that's not listening. Even if
mm.
this group
Okay,
over
say
here was
that, say that.
sharing,
Yeah,
this group over here is not listening. And when this
right.
group over here gets to a place where they want to listen, this group's not sharing. It's
You're
just
right. You
madness.
are correct. Yeah, it
It's
is.
mad.
It is absolutely that. And then some people don't want to listen because they got it all figured out.
Right,
But
right.
you still failing though. You know what I mean? I don't know anybody that has it all figured out. And the one that did have it figured out, he had a rough 33 years. You
Right.
know what I'm saying? So I mean, I just feel like we need to quit pretending that it don't hurt.
Well, so that actually leads me because I wanted to frame this conversation tonight.
Okay.
That we're talking about the climb, and I brought my notes back out and studied my notes from last week or a couple weeks ago, and this is a story from Tyler Perry that he talked about. Um, Tyler Perry got all that money; he can do whatever he wants. He's like, you know what? I want to be a pilot.
Yeah.
He wakes up one day and decides he wants to be a pilot. So
Hmm.
he's in this small little bitty plane. He talks about how this is the tiniest plane I've ever been in, and I'm just cracking up at that point. So
Right.
um, the plane goes up. They take off. He goes through all
Hmm.
his pre-trip, all that stuff, and the plane goes up, and they reach a point where they start to hit. They start to experience great turbulence, and I'm not just saying turbulence. I'm saying great turbulence. He stressed great turbulence. How
Yeah.
many of you out there right now are experiencing great turbulence as
Ooh.
you're climbing? And we're gonna come back to this. Oh yes, sis, I'm gonna give
Hmm.
you some stuff to chew on this one.
Ooh. Oh,
As you
okay.
are climbing, you start to experience not just turbulence, but great turbulence.
Mm,
So what does he do? He starts to panic and freak out, but as he's listening, he focuses and he's listening in. It's sometimes that great turbulence, or I might even say pain, brings a
mm,
laser focus to you, and it
right.
heightens other senses and allows you to focus in a way that you've never been able to focus before. His
Correct.
focus came in the way of air traffic control.
Mm-hmm.
So on the radio, air traffic control gives an order, and the order was climb and maintain
Yeah.
6,500 feet.
Right.
Say that again.
Mm-hmm.
Climb and maintain at
Mm-hmm.
6,500
Mm-hmm.
feet. So
Mm-hmm.
he follows the instructions. The plane,
Mm-hmm.
because of his climb, the plane breaks through the layer of a turbulence. And what
Mm-hmm.
happens? Smooth sailing. But I want you to hear and understand and really pull down the key phrase there: climb and maintain.
Mm-hmm.
We have to understand that even in the midst of the storm, in the climb, there's a
Mm-hmm.
place that we can get to if we just keep climbing and reach a
Mm-hmm.
certain level and learn to maintain
Mm-hmm.
momentarily at that space. It's kind of like being in the eye of the storm.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine and being in a what is a hurricane, a level 5? Is that the
I
worst?
mean, yeah, I believe so. 11.5. 11.5, I believe so. And
Well, I'm thinking
hurricane.
maybe tornadoes, but whatever the biggest hurricane. But even in the midst of that madness and craziness, the best place to be is in the eye of the storm. Because
Yes,
in the
it
eye of
is.
the storm, there's nothing but calm and peace.
You're thinking of tornadoes, yeah.
Yeah. So I just wanted to frame that in our discussion today. I know that's a lot to chew on. I was watching your face. She's like, "Oh my God, I'm pulling that. I'm pulling that." So go ahead and pick it apart, girl. Go ahead and pick it apart. I know
So,
you
well, no, I know, right? I'm sitting here. Ooh, when you we're talking about the
and it's
climb and
cracking
Tyler
up too.
Perry, right? I mean, so, when I'm so when I was hearing when you were saying that, I'm thinking, okay, it wasn't the first time I heard it because you have said it before.
Yeah.
But what I was thinking about is climb and maintain. Um, and I was thinking about relationships in that mindset of climbing and maintaining. I was thinking about all the ships we were talking about last week, the situationships, the
Oh
friendships,
dang.
relationships, all these ships. And
Oh
I was thinking of all these ships, and I'm like, that's right. But you're saying climb and maintain, and I'm sitting here thinking, but who, we always think about all these people on our boat, but who's somebody's like rolling holes, and some people are actually rowing it. But when you talk about climbing and maintaining, and he's talking about an aircraft, we're talking about life. And I'm
dang.
thinking, how many times do people always talk about the fall and never talk about the climb? Like
Right.
that's the first thing that came to my head when you said it. I was like, oh, but we always talk about falling. I didn't fail in love. I didn't fail out this job. I didn't fail out of this. We always falling and never acknowledge that we had to fall from somewhere.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Like you had to fall from somewhere.
Was you not
People.
climbing? Yeah.
Right, was you're not climbing. So acknowledge your climb too, because I feel like we always want to acknowledge and make it all foo-foo and pretty. We talk about the fear, we talk about the pain, we talk about the hurt, but we don't talk about the climb. Like, so when you got down there and you were at your lowest point, we always talk about the lowest point, but how did you climb out? Like, how did you get up from there?
Right. Right. That's
And
good.
then to maintain, then we talk about maintaining, but then you think about it, okay, so we're talking about maintaining, but that requires maintenance. And the only thing that people either talk about with maintenance in our world right now is either car or if she too high maintenance, right? So it's just, it's one of them too. We talking about the car, we might be talking about maintaining the line, but we talking about maintenance. We
I
It's
can't get to
normally
laughing
about.
because you're gonna get me coughing.
Right. I'm like, but I'm just saying, we talk about it, and it's a transaction, right? When we talk about maintenance, we're talking about a transaction, something I get to get because I get this. If she's high maintenance, if I spend this money, I'm gonna get this. If the car is high maintenance, but it needs this, if I maintain my oil, if I maintain my fluid, then I'll have a good car that's going to be sturdy for me. But we don't talk about maintaining the heart. We don't talk about maintaining the body. We don't talk about maintaining the mind. We don't talk about the maintenance. So if you're climbing and but you're not feeding your soul, if you're climbing but you're not working on your physical, if you're climbing but your heart's broken, if you're climbing and you lost the job and you climb, but we climbing, don't climb without purpose.
Right.
Because if you climbing without purpose, what is your maintenance? What are you maintaining if there was no purpose in your climb, right? You worry about her being high maintenance, but what happens when your money run out? Will she love you then? Right? You worry about the car and you put so much money into something that you can't put in your casket, right? So sometimes what are we maintaining it for? I tell my clients and I talk to people and I always say you should remember your why. But then why did I start climbing in the first place?
That's
What
good.
was my goal? Where was I heading to? Because we do we miss ourselves on those climbs, or we end up finding ourselves stagnant because I quit climbing somewhere and I accepted.
I love that part. I think I loved everything you said, but I I think a whole new spin that you just threw in there when you talked about time and when you're referencing we're just climbing, we don't even know where we're going.
Right.
We're just
Where
climbing.
is the purpose? Yeah.
Yeah. When you contemplate the climb, real talk, you never know how long it's going to take or what it's going to look like when you get there.
Right.
We don't even
Right.
consider that or think about that. We're
Right.
just climbing.
Just be out here climbing,
Yeah,
climbing. And we're in the but you climb aimlessly. You're
right.
climbing to get to the top of the ladder for this job
Well,
that can fire you.
I would even
Right? We're
frame that to
climbing. What are we
say,
climbing for?
yeah, I would even frame that to say the only thing for sure that we know about the climb is that we can never stop. We're just
Correct.
we're just climbing.
Right. And so, but that's what I'm saying. If we don't stop and at least make sure that we're on the right path, could that mean that could we then go as far as to say we can understand how people can be married for 50 years and hate each other? Could we go as far as to say we could know that people have master's degrees and doctorates and aren't even in the field they went to school for? We
Yeah.
could, but so my thing is, I don't want to leave this earth and my climb was a waste of time, right? I don't want to leave here and my climb was a waste of time. I
Yeah.
had no purpose in it, right? So it can't just be for um, monetary gain, right? You can't just climb, I want to be a millionaire, right? But then what, right? I want to have all these businesses. I want to make all this money. I want to be a teacher. I want to be a counselor. Whatever you want to do, why? Is it because of what you've always seen, or are you actually, taking the time to make sure your why matches who you are trying to be?
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. So are you saying I gotta actually ask the question of what is my dream?
Right.
You said I gotta actually do that? I gotta figure out what my dream actually is.
Right.
I just can't just go out there and just do la 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 whatever. I gotta actually
No,
be a pointed arrow and hit a target every time. But
no, because if you do that, you've wasted time
no, but Evie,
and the climb.
come on now. If I do that, then I gotta be willing to do whatever it takes to bring that dream to reality.
Oh my goodness, you mean I have to live on purpose? On purpose?
Yeah,
Ain't
now
that
now I
something?
gotta be intentional in all my actions, all my words.
Right.
I,
Well,
you
in the
know,
words of Izzy the Intentional Healer, that's the point. You have
right,
to be
right.
intentional. Your movement has to be purposeful. And you're asking the questions, and I know we're joking, but that's the truth. When was the last time that you sat down and said, why do I work here? Why am I doing this? What is my reasoning?
That's so much
Why
work.
do I want? I know, because oh my God, because what if you had the audacity to get to know you better? Ain't that
Yeah,
something? Oh my God. Like, what in the world? Why would
I
you
mean,
do such a thing?
for real, for real.
Evie and Coach, you mean we got to actually have a purpose for why we're doing the things we're doing and understand the
Man,
purpose and all of that? Because like that's a lot of work. Because a lot of people don't want to know
it
that they
is
just
a lot
want
of
to go
work.
to the job, they want to go there. There's this whole routine. I know Coach is aware of it, and others. If you just kind of like go into the motions of going to work and all along those lines, and we even see that. I was actually watching it earlier today because this is March Madness and everything, and you could
Yes.
tell that some of the players, as a matter of fact, I just watched an NIT game where Georgia Tech got killed by Jacksonville State, and it looked like the Georgia Tech players were just going through the motions because this was not where they wanted to be. They'd rather be at an NCAA tournament versus an NIT game, and it didn't look like they had fully invested in wanting to be there and win the game, which is probably why they got slaughtered and everything. But I just wanted your take on that, because a lot of times we as individuals just go through the motion because you're just going to work to get the check and then come back, and hopefully if you've got a family, the family is encouraging.
Can be maintained, right? Mm-hmm.
Okay,
I think that's what
go ahead.
that's what I'm saying. As far as like you said, so sometimes, so I would say my answer to your question is yes, you have to be purposeful. My other statement would be, why would you want your whole life to be wasted on what you didn't want to do?
Right.
But most of society does that, yeah.
But we do that. But so then my question is, am I doing what I do for a living because mom and them did it? Because it's what we've always known. I have people that I've spoken with, and they're like, well, I've just been doing this all my life anyway. But I always wanted to be this. So why didn't you go be that? Well,
I'm probably gonna get
doing this all my life anyway.
I'm probably gonna get myself in trouble with you and coach and everything. But don't we do the same thing in relationships? Because I think I've talked on the show before that sometimes you get caught in the same traps, and it's the same trap, and all along those lines, because you sit there going like, wait a minute, how come? And I'm just gonna make up names and everything. How come Sue reminds me so much of Martha? That reminds me so much of Jen and everything. And you realize that you're going for the same type, even if it's not the same person.
Anyway, Mark, I'm going to answer that question.
You come on back, Cletus.
Oh boy, was I triggered right there, boy?
Woo!
Mark, for real, dreams don't come overnight, bro. Dreams don't come overnight.
Right.
I mean, you got to run them down, you guys. This is what we're talking about. I know Mark, what he's saying is serious business, but getting back to the dreams don't just come overnight. You must run them down. I mean, why I'm saying that, it's in the chase of running down the dream that we actually learn who we are. So, Mark, throw Shannon's comment back up there.
What'd she say? Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes. It's hard, especially when it takes a long time. So sometimes chasing and running down the dream is going to take you a long time. But the reality of that, the benefit of that, is you learn yourself in a way that there's no other way for you to learn yourself than in that chase.
Mm-hmm.
You learn your strengths, your weaknesses, you learn everything about yourself.
Right. I think so, and I agree with that also. I think that it's a sprint, not a race. You know what I'm saying? It's not a race. I'm not trying to get anywhere before somebody else, but I also think that we have to acknowledge that's why it's so important to identify our identity. Absolutely. And I think absolutely.
Oh my God.
Right. Yes.
My daughter is on the show.
Oh, well, come on in.
Hello. Oh, look at her spitting fire.
Oh. And so I believe that, yes, it's intentional. And yes, you have to be purposeful. Yes, you have to make the decision. But you have to know that there's going to be other versions of you. So what if, I dare to say this, what if the dream that you're chasing, coach, is not the same one you dreamt, right? Like, what if it's evolved and emerged over time, which is how it happens, right? Always. But when it does that, how do you, if you're not doing it purposeful, or if you're not pushing yourself forward with a good intent, at least, then will you also lose your identity trying to identify as who you used to dream to be?
Well, but I think the issue with that is we are so reluctant, stubborn, whatever you want to call it, to pivot. So it's not working. I started down path A and it's not working. What's wrong with me pivoting and going to B? Actually, what's wrong after a few times pivoting and going to C and to D, to E and F? If I don't like it, is it not my life? Is it not me still living purposeful living to pivot and keep moving until I find the direction I need to go? What's wrong with that?
But I don't think anything's wrong with it. I just think that you have to be quite sure when you pivot, right? that it is your identity that you're pivoting with. Because as Mark just stated, because you're not gonna get out of that one, about dating and choosing the same person all the time, right? Um, but the same person that works for a 20-year-old coach is not the same person that's going to work for 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80-year-old coach,
No,
because
ma'am.
at every identity of self, right? That's why I said you got to be in touch with your star player, right? You have to know who you are. You see
Ooh.
what I'm saying? I have to, like he was just talking about basketball. You have to be in touch with your star player. If I lose me, right, in you, then when I pivot, was that my pivot, right? Because that's what I'm saying as far as what we do um, when we lose ourselves on these shifts, right? Is that you lose yourself in these people, in things, in places, and we're so busy running towards the next thing because we are a society that loves to have. We don't know
Mm.
nothing about holding, right? So we love to have now. I'll have this. I got the newest this. I got the newest that. I don't know how many different phones they gonna make because iPhone they give you one more screen bigger and a couple more cameras and everybody's lining up to get it.
We're never
But
satisfied.
it's the we're never satisfied. So my worry is, and that's why I want to make sure I'm being clear. I am all for intentional living. I am all for making purposeful choices. I am all for the pivots. I am all for climbing and falling and getting up. The problem is what I want to make sure that we're making sure the nation knows is that you also have to ensure that that thought is yours,
Mm.
right? Because sometimes we get so riled up with I have to. Ooh, Lord, don't let me say it like that. Hold on.
Come on, say it, girl. We
Come on.
raw here. We raw.
How many BBLs do you need before you can be okay with you?
Ooh.
Right? We go and get surgery, go under the knife, risk your life to play Build a Bear with yourself.
Right, right.
Right.
Now, I'm not knocking nobody who done it. If that's what you choose, great. But if we have every woman in the world go do this, then will you ever find an individual?
Mm.
Mm.
You see
That
what I'm
takes me
saying?
back. That takes me back to Melissa's comment. That's
Hmm.
why it's so important to identify our identity. So I
Hmm.
want to speak into that for a minute. So as we're evolving on the climb, we're chasing the
Hmm.
climb, chasing the journey, whatever we're calling it. There's evolution that takes place. There's different. You mentioned the word.
Absolutely.
There's different versions of you that are created. There's a version
Yes,
of you that
absolutely.
dies to allow the next version of you to come
Correct.
alive.
Right.
And to Mark's point and yours about the relationships, sometimes people fall in love with
Yes.
that version of you,
Yes.
and you've already evolved two more levels beyond that, and they're
Right.
pulling you back, trying to hold you captive to
Right.
version 2.0, and you're at version 5.
Right. Because people fall in love with mediocrity.
But Evie and Coach, is that just in relationships? But isn't that in jobs as well? Because I can't tell you how many times I've had
That's
friends of
all the
mine
ships,
that
Mark.
are
All the
sitting
ships.
there looking at a house of their friend and wanted that house, even though they might be in a shanty or an apartment or something like that. And then you've got other folks that are wanting the person's car. They see the person driving the electric car, so they figure they've got to get the electric car as
Hmm.
well. And I'm just using that as an example, not to pick on Tesla or anybody else, but they've got to have the next great thing
I don't know
all
now.
along
Tesla
those
kind of
lines.
picking on us right now. So I
Right,
don't
right.
know. I don't know about not picking, but no, and that's put to your point, Mark. That's what I'm saying. It's apply. It's an across the board mind change,
Mm-hmm.
right? Your mind has to match your climb.
Yeah.
It's an all across the board mind change. If your mind does not match your climb, you are climbing like somebody just spinning their wheels. You're
Mm-hmm.
not going to reach what you are. You're going to miss your wholeness. You're going to miss one thing that I have had amazing conversations with my kids when I'm present, right? When you're present. So the same thing about your life when you're present in it, you would have to remember your why because that's what you're
Right.
present for.
Right,
But I
right.
think that what we're forgetting, or what a lot of people end up doing, like you said, Mark, continuously doing the same old. You're just doing it. I mean, I'm not saying that you're not alive. I'm just saying that you're not living.
And one of your guests brings up a good point, which is where I was kind of going, because that takes some serious courage, as I think it's
Melissa, yeah.
Melissa was saying, and everything. That takes some serious courage, because even in the job space, when I was talking about people that get satisfied with their jobs and don't try to go for the raise or try to go for the advancement in the jobs, that takes some courage in yourself and knowing of yourself that you're going to be willing to actually step to the company and say, that I am worthy of this promotion
Right.
and all along those lines. But a lot of folks, I know many, and I've even been guilty of it as well, are afraid to make that step because they're afraid of the consequences. And I think we've talked about this before on Misfits Managed, afraid of failure. That's what is really behind a lot of people. They are afraid of failure.
Well, let me throw this at y'all. Would as you both are talking about this, I'm trying to extract. Okay, what is the root cause here? What is the underlying problem here? Because these, at one point, I'm remembering. I'm just 54, but I'm remembering these were strengths of this country, of this society. And now is it? I'm just me. Is it mental toughness that is now gone? The mentality that this country, individuals, our society as a whole once had, that we believed we were invincible. We put our mind to something and we did it. We're not up and down, wishy-washy, flippy-floppy. Everything goes. We've allowed so much now in this society that we're raising children that are completely lost.
Well, I've got a couple of theories about that, and then I want to hear you and Evie's thoughts about this. One is, I think that we've gotten into this quick mentality, and then part of it is the internet, part of it is other things where everybody thinks that they're just going to have instant success, instant gratitude, instant whatever they want. So it's like that microwave society kind of mentality that everything's going to be fixed instantly and everything. And the other thing that frustrates me, and I know, Coach, part of this about me is that I am, in addition to a producer here, I'm a historian and everything. So I also get frustrated by this lack of connection. There's a notion, particularly in our community, of generational wealth. And I was just having this conversation with somebody, because there's a major Black newspaper here in North Carolina where I'm at and everything. It doesn't exist anymore because the fourth generation decided that they didn't want it anymore, even though the founder was very much involved in a lot of the Black Wall Street civil rights struggle, a lot of the other things, and it went on to two other generations. But after it came down to I think it's the fourth, it might be the fifth generation, they were like, we don't want to work in the newspaper field. Y'all can just let that go everywhere it wants to go and everything. So it's pretty much a decline totally and everything. And it totally breaks my heart.
Are you saying we got to get off of these things?
Yeah, we got to get off those things.
Yeah, I'm about to say, I was like, I think to answer you, we become instant gratification nation.
Yeah.
And because we become instant gratification nation, we have forgotten that we have to do better, but it takes work. And I think work and putting in work is now become a cuss word in our society. You know what I'm saying? And so I think it was Kevin Hart that said it. He said, everybody wants to be famous, but nobody want to put the work in. So we that's the truth, though, is that we have we've become a society where we have these check boxes that, you have to be this by this age, that by this age, this by this age, and then lay down and die. Right? We stop living.
Yeah.
And then we stop teaching living. Our kids are now watching social media and want to change everything about themselves before they've met. Right? They want to change, and the society has said that we've become all these things. But again, we're in the society of having. Just have it. I just want to have it. That's why you don't see long marriages anymore. That's why you don't see, because everything can be traded in.
It can be turned in.
And traded in, turned in, changed, ups, downs, all these things. But the problem is that, but so can you, right? So instead, you start selling yourself on discount because your worth was never in you.
I was not laughing at you. Evie, I was not laughing at you, by the way, but when you said Kevin Hart's quote, there was a dear friend of mine. He's actually a lot of people in this neighborhood consider him one of my best friends and everything. But he said that the same thing because he used to be a manager at a local theater here. It's a art house theater and everything. And he used to tell me, and this is a true quote, everybody's a promoter until it's time to cut the check, which means that everybody's got an
Man,
idea of this great ideas of what they want to do, and they've got these great grandiose ideas, and he would listen to them because he was in charge of the rentals and everything. And then when at some point he would have to present them a bill, and that's when a lot of them would run away because they did not have a plan behind what they were trying to do. So my good friend Ray
right,
Pasco said, everybody's a promoter until it's time to cut the check.
Well, that, Mark, leads
right.
me down the line that I was about to go into, that I would
Mm,
venture to say everyone wants to be a diamond,
Right.
but
mm,
can't handle the pressure and the heat that comes with the
woo,
production
Hmm.
of a diamond.
yeah,
Everybody wants to shine and glow,
Right.
but nobody can handle the pressure and the heat. And when
man,
you think
yeah,
about how a diamond is produced, the immense pressure over time, the immense heat that it takes to form a diamond, then once you get the diamond, you got to do some cutting.
yeah. That's right. You got to do some cutting, some shaping, some slimming, trimming back.
Yeah, but we want
Um,
we want no part in none of that. We just want to be the
right,
diamond.
but see, that's what I'm saying. We've gotten into a society where you're just trying to get somebody to make you a diamond, right? I want you to worship me. I want you to love me. I want you to do all these things. But I wasn't worth a dime before I met you.
Right.
And I'm talking about in my own sight, in my own head. So it's what you've been. First of all, your biggest enemy is between your ears anyway. So you're always talking yourself into something or out of something or over something or through something. The words, do your words align with who you say you are in
Yeah.
your own mind, right? Like, how do you talk to you? Do you talk bad to yourself and then get mad when Susie down the street talk bad to you? Is it, or are you so complacent in your climb that you decide, I'm gonna just sit here. I'm not going no further. I'm fine. And
I
we
think
get so okay with that. You
yeah.
know what I mean?
I think that's so powerful what you just said, that we have grown so accustomed to lying to ourselves.
Man,
And
it's
then we
so
get mad
terrible.
when other people call us out. When they call us out, they're just calling out what they see in us.
That's
They
right.
call out what we've already said about ourselves. So it's that person, and I'm guilty. I'm raising both my
Yeah,
hands.
I love anybody.
They
Yeah,
say I'm going to
anybody.
get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and work out, or I'm going to walk, or whatever. And then the alarm goes off, and you get up and then go back to sleep. You lied to yourself.
Correct.
And
Yeah.
over time, you don't even trust yourself.
Hmm.
So then over time, as you move into this space and that space, you wonder why people don't trust you, why people aren't comfortable
Yeah.
with you, why they don't believe the things you say, because you're giving off that. You don't even believe yourself. So why would they believe you?
Right.
That's sad.
And that's it is. It's really sad, and it's terrible that we have become. Whew, and I'm probably gonna have some people mad at us. We have become a society where a reality star can be president. You know what I
Say that
mean?
again.
A felon. I said we have become a society where a reality star and a felon can be president. So I mean, we live like a reality TV show in a
Yeah.
lot of our lives.
Yeah.
And you're
America's
waiting for
great
someone
Jerry
else.
Springer right
Yeah.
now.
All right. Right. And but you live your life like that. And then but you have to have, like we're always searching to look like we got it together, right? I don't want to look like I got it together all the time. If I'm down, I need somebody to see because maybe I don't have the words to say I can't do it, right? Or I don't know what I'm going to do. Or you lose a job and you think that job is your identity, right? And then we forget who we are. Or like Shannon said earlier, you lose yourself in a marriage and then have to find yourself for so long. Relationships, long distance, or right in front of your face. What is taking you from you? Do you have enough of you left to pour back into you? Or did you give away so much trying to find your worth in people's words? You
Mm,
know what I'm saying? Why is your worth in someone else's words? Why
right.
is it if that guy and I'm telling you from a woman who has been in uh, domestic situations and violence and things, and you get to believing them. Someone talks about you so bad or tells you every day, they tell you be careful how you talk to your children. If you call your child stupid and then get angry when they won't even try to pass the
Right.
test,
Yeah. It
but
becomes a
then aren't
self-fulfilling prophecy.
right, but aren't we doing the same thing? Isn't that what we do to God? When we just He's telling you that you're worth life itself, and we're like, well, I'm gonna give myself away to somebody who says I'm not shit, because that's the level I've accepted that I have to be, because I no longer believe that I can be anything else.
Right.
Why do you think narcissists tell you, whether it's a male or a female, because I think that people get it confused and think men are only narcissists. No, big
Oh
fat
no.
narcissists. There's absolutely big narcissists in both sexes.
Yeah.
But but with that said, don't you think it's odd that a narcissist always say, "Ain't nobody gonna want you but me. You don't want me. You don't want me.
Right.
Ain't nobody gonna talk to you. Don't nobody want to be bothered with you. You think I settled for you." Yeah, they talk so bad to you to where you be like, "Well, dang,
Right.
maybe right." But are they speaking to what you spoke to you already?
Yeah, because you're
Right?
already co-signing to it.
You've
You're
already
already in
co-signed to
agreement.
it. You're
Yeah.
already accepting it. You're already allowing that. So when did I get to a place where I let me no longer be good enough? So
Mm.
it's time for me to isolate, right? I don't need to date. I need to figure out who I am. I need to know who they getting. I need to be so cold-blooded with me that you a bonus, not
Yeah,
a requirement.
that's
You know
good
what I
shit.
mean?
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. And that's what happens with us though. We have that um right. Yeah. And you do. You end up denying it, or you end up acting as if it wasn't a big deal. Or when people who are outside of your relationship or situationships, families treat each other like this.
Right.
When
Right.
you're doing that, you're so confused. Have you ever heard somebody say, I've heard people say when I've talked to clients, they'll say stuff like, "Yeah, my brother would defend me to everybody, but then he beat me up." What? What? Because he would tell people, I'm the only one that can put my hands on.
Right. That's
I'm
just
like, wait
crazy,
a minute,
man.
that doesn't make any sense. But if you've learned that your whole life,
Right.
right? That's why I said it has to go back to your roots. You have to find out why you're climbing. Are you climbing to get away from something? Are you run climbing? Are you climbing without purpose? Are you just climbing to say you climb?
See,
Right? I did do something with my life. You know what I mean?
I love that. I think this is a good space to pivot. Because it's real, but I'm looking at our clock and I don't want to end on this note.
Got you.
I want,
Absolutely.
I want us to, we can circle back to this next week and dive into the
Oh
muck and mire
yeah.
again. But
Absolutely.
so I want to throw this at you and to the audience. Um, she just hit on some powerful stuff. So we're in this climb, and some of us are aimless in our climb. We're just climbing. We've talked
Hmm.
about that. Some of us are purposeful, and we
Hmm.
have an idea of where we're going.
Hmm.
But have we really addressed why we're actually climbing? So
Right. The
I'm
why, yeah.
making the assumption that we're climbing because we're moving towards something that's maybe like happiness. So, what is the key to happiness? What is
Mm.
the key to wealth and making money? What is the key to a healthy relationship? What is the key to all these different things that we're climbing? Because we've named off all these various
Hmm.
climbs all of us are on, but ultimately, I'm assuming the end game of that is happiness, fulfillment, success. What is that?
Um, I think that happiness has to be self-defined, right? I think you have to define yours. I have to define mine.
Right.
I
It's
think that's the other
individual.
part, is that people is individual. I also believe that society says you're supposed to be happy. And so people just are out here striving for it or trying to find it in mediocre and minimal things. And that's the point. When your happiness becomes monetary, then it's not really happy, because that means happiness should be something, to me, my definition. Happiness to me is something no one can take from me,
Right.
right? So I have to be self aware, self dealing. I think you have to walk. Happiness has to start with you. And then your reasoning for the climb, like you said, has to be a goal. It has to be a reason. Why are you climbing? You're right. Why did I start this climb? Because when I was climbing, my kids were smaller, is a different reason why I'm climbing now,
Right.
right? It's a different reason, like you said. Well, if I've been divorced, I've been married, okay, it's a different climb now. So your climb also has to go with your seasons,
Okay.
right?
You're in the vein that I'm
You
thinking
know what I mean? Yeah,
because
like
it
you have to
depends
go with
on
the
life. Go
seasons.
ahead. I'll let you finish.
No, no, I'm saying that's what I'm saying. It has to go with the seasons, and your seasons change. And so you change. And that's why I said you have to continuously check with you to make sure that you're still climbing for the right things.
Yeah.
You know.
Which I think, depending on your situation, trauma that you might have
Mm-hmm.
experienced, for me, man, has my thought, wow, that's a great comment.
What if your climate the stage in life to be protected rather than vulnerable and critical? Woo! Girl, Melissa, we climbing together, baby, because that's where I'm at.
That's a great comment. But for me,
Yeah.
man, has it changed because I'm gonna go on a limb here because I almost have to say, if you ask me what is the key to happiness, I might venture to say the struggle,
Mm.
because I've learned so much, I've gained so much value in the struggle.
Mm-hmm.
By no means saying I want to continue struggling,
No, I get what you're
you know
saying.
what I'm saying? But I'm just saying there's been so much fruit and receipts that I've pulled down from the struggle
Mm.
that
Mm-hmm.
now, see, I see those as mini victories. And the more
Mm.
difficult things or times that I can champion, then the more likely I feel like I'm going to have a successful life. So these are
Okay.
many victories here, there, here, all over the place. The
Mm-hmm.
more of those that I can accumulate over the course of time
Mm-hmm.
add up to great victories. And then when the big major things hit you, man, you're good because you know
Yeah.
how to endure and manage the struggle.
Hey, Coach, the flip side of this, and this is for both you and Evie, because y'all were talking about the definition of happiness. And yeah, sometimes you can get stressed, and a lot of times people get stressed over things that they don't have control over, like their finances and other things like that. But as you
Right.
know, Coach, I am a big fan of the simple things being some of the keys to happiness as well. I think I've said on this show, and I've said on a number of other shows, I actually might go to a walk to the corner store or somebody nearby, and I'll see a butterfly fluttering around and everything like that, or see a rabbit or something like that. And that can actually be a key to happiness. Or even as I saw early today, there was a young man that was probably of African descent, like one of the African continents. I don't know which one, could have been Nigeria for all I know, but he had his young kid and he was running. And then he was running with the kids. That's kind of like doing a jog trot and everything. And I was actually teasing him that he was training the next Olympic star and all along those lines. But something as simple as seeing the simple things in life can be the keys to happiness as well, and the keys to success that I think we as a society, and it's kind of that instant gratification thing, ignore too much, because sometimes it's those simple
Mm.
things that can be something that can help you in that joy journey and everything. And I'm not saying, I'm not knocking the hardships, because I've had my own hardships and everything, and definitely have had relationship woes that I've shared
Mm-hmm.
on Misfits managed and everything. But I sometimes think that it's the simple things that we forget, and all along those lines.
So, Mark, are you serious, brother?
I'm very serious.
Are you serious right now? You mean we've got to actually? I got 100 things I got to get done in 12 hours, and you want me to slow down and smell the roses and watch the bunnies cross the street?
Yes, that's exactly what
Are
I
you
want you to do.
serious?
I mean, if
That's
they bunnies, you
retarded in
gotta watch the
2025?
bunnies, coach. Now,
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
Yes, that's exactly
No,
what I
I'm
want you
not
to
look,
do.
being silly, but yeah, man, what happened to that? What happened to
yeah,
us going down and smelling the roses? I
yeah,
remember coming home, actually starting my day that way, you know,
mhm,
sitting out on the porch and a cup of coffee, reading the newspaper, getting up, getting ready for work, prayer,
mhm,
Bible study, or devotion, whatever,
mhm,
all of that outside, enjoying nature. And then
mhm,
coming home and doing the same thing, having a beer or a glass of wine,
mhm,
unwinding. And now we
mhm,
jump from activity to activity, 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 jump into bed, can't sleep because we ain't even slowed
mhm.
down enough. I mean,
Because your mind ain't slowed down. Yeah, I think what both of you are saying is correct. I think what Mark is saying is it is the little things because it is the things that we forget about. Like you said, it's. I like going outside. I like sitting on my back porch, and I love sitting outside in the sun.
yeah, I know
But
you
I
do
didn't.
like sitting on your
I
back
do.
porch.
I love it, but I don't. I don't recall when I started it. Right, I started doing it. But I also got to a point where I just really like to sit outside and just look, or like you said, Mark, just sit there and actually enjoy a breeze. Like people think I'm sure people think I'd be out there weird as all get up, but I'm sitting out there. I'm just in a moment of peace. And sometimes you have to pause to have peace. You know what I'm saying? You have to pause and have
Sometimes,
peace.
and sometimes those simple things can be something that can help along those lines. I think I mentioned this
Oh
before,
yeah.
but I'm not going to call out or say anything that is out of the norm with my own mom. And my mom is in her early 80s and everything, but she has in her backyard, and she's retired now. She has a family of turkey and a family of deer, and she actually enjoys
That's
watching those and
awesome.
everything along those lines. That's part
Yes.
of what she's doing in her getting her early morning. She'll walk out there, and to be perfectly honest, she is somewhat concerned because sometimes if I call mom just to check on her, which you should do with anybody that is an citizen that's older in your life and everything, she will sometimes tell me, I don't know what the turkey or the deer are because she's used to seeing them. And if they're not there, then that's something that she is going to be a little bit concerned about because she's used to them being in that place. And they might
Right.
be wondering where she's at if she doesn't show up and everything. But definitely it's that notion of uh, respecting Mother Nature and all along those lines. And even I learned
Absolutely.
that from my mom. And like I said, she does that even in her early to mid 80s and everything, or early 80s.
Yeah. I love it. I saw a deer walk through my backyard and I was like, what in the but they're down this way because I'm out by Longview. So um but I know, Shannon, we gotta get back
I know
outside.
you gotta get
But
that girl outside. Wow. Mark, I think someone agreed with you there.
Yes, you got to dial into the simple to hear air traffic control
right.
from the heart.
All right. I think that's what yeah, you have to you got to learn to pause and purposeful pausing, right? Not just pausing to be pausing. Like you said, your mom goes out there in the morning. I go and sit, but it wasn't until to Coach's point about the struggle. It wasn't until I had no choice, right, that I learned to sit outside because I was down and I had been sick and I had had surgery, and so outside was like where I could go and sit and take a minute and not hear anything else. And I learned to enjoy the silence,
Mhm.
right? And even sitting outside, now the kids will come out. Now I'm sitting, so they know I'm in my zone. And then they'll come and literally just sit. We just sit or have some amazing conversations, laughing and joking. But to Coach's point, what he said earlier, but if I had never had to go and have surgery, if I didn't have to be down, if I didn't have to pause, if
See,
God didn't allow me a pause so I could sit down, sometimes your struggle bus is so you can get off the bus and just sit down and pause.
right. Why
I
is it
believe your struggle, yeah.
why is it people
Yes.
like you and me, to your point just now,
Mhm,
that the
mhm,
Lord has to put us on our back to get us to realize, okay, I mean, the Lord's been telling me for 6 months, Sabbath rest. Yeah,
mhm.
my response to that is, Lord, I'm rebuilding my life.
Right.
And the Lord keeps saying, Sabbath rest. Lord, I'm building right now. Sabbath rest. So he puts me on my back for 3 weeks. Sabbath
Right.
rest. I mean, come
Right.
on.
He's gonna make you rest. That's what we were talking about before you
That's
came
what I
on.
say.
Coach. We were talking about that notion that sometimes he will put you to rest. Because I said earlier today, I wound up taking a cat nap because I had had a very active weekend and everything, and my body was sitting there going like, "All right," and the Lord above was like, "You gonna take a nap whether you want to take a nap or not," and everything. But to your point, and to come back to what kind of this show and the other shows are about, which is this notion of being tied to your spiritual side and your religious side as well. Isn't that part of the problem? Even coming back to the instant gratification, is that we want so much instant gratification that we're hoping that he's going to answer automatically and everything. And last time I checked, don't isn't part of the scripture, and correct me if I'm wrong because I'm not as scripturally inclined as the two of you are, but I thought the message was that you had to do some of the work as well in order for it to be achievable. So if you have to do
I mean,
some of
last
the
I
work to
checked,
come to him and everything like that, if I understand the scripture correctly.
I believe it does say faith without works is dead.
Right.
So yeah, and without, and
Yeah, you got
but a
to
lot of us are. But then you gotta, but then you gotta ask the question that's gonna make them mad, Mark. You gotta say, well, what you faith in, right? What you faithing in?
Yeah.
Are you faithing in that job? Are you faithing in that relationship? Are you faithing in anything that's not you? Are you faithing in? What is your faith in? And then, and what is you putting? What do you? Where do you pour? I think that those are the things you got to come back to. Is where do I pour from? Because if we pour from empty cups, Coach says that he's supposed to be having a Sabbath rest. And he says, well, God, I'm building. He said, yeah, I built it in 6 days. You can rest for one. So I think that we can, well, yeah, that was yours, Coach.
You literally just slapped me upside my head because you're like, You basically said, Negro, who do you think you are? God worked for
That's
6
right.
and rested. So why you think you got to work?
I'm just saying. I'm just saying. I don't know what you think you're gonna build and for that extra day. Because he
Right,
sat down.
right,
He sat down. You're gonna
right,
build it. You're gonna build your whole life in 24 hours, coach. You're
right.
doing great. Well, then you need to write a book and tell us all how to do it. If you can rebuild it in 124 hours. Because here's what I'm trying to tell you. The reason why I say it like that, and me and coach are joking, but the truth is, while you're trying to build it, right? That would be also the same mindset. While you're climbing tired, huh? While you're climbing sick, huh? While you're climbing broken, are you really climbing for the same why as
Right.
when you were healthy and put together
Yeah.
and were climbing?
When you
What
say
are
that
you climbing for?
survival,
Hmm?
when you say that turns into survival now, you're not climbing for happiness. You're climbing just to survive.
Right. So while you're in survival mode, you will find yourself molded to the climb.
Mm-hmm.
You'll find yourself, you'll be in survival mode. I tell people all the time, I am 46 now, and I just started to learn how to live because I have been surviving a lot of my life because I was an early mother. I left home early. I have been in survival mode. It wasn't until I survived, right, this last surgery that I realized I had not been living.
Yeah.
I had been maintaining, but I wasn't climbing to the right altitude. I was just surviving. And sometimes you get so stuck in survival mode that you may have forgotten that you're not captive on that mountain, right? You're not a lone camper on that mountain. It's your mountain and it's supposed to be there so that you can climb it. Because, like you said, every storm, every struggle, I love the rain. And I'm like a crazy person, so I used to like to chase tornadoes. And I live in Missouri, and so I can do that in Kansas when you're coming back from Colorado and Salina.
You chasing tornadoes, sis? For
I
real?
Yeah,
did.
well,
I know. I know. I
we've
know.
had some of those. We had those recently. Don't remind me of they didn't hit Durham,
Oh,
thank
but
goodness,
see,
and
that's the
everything.
issue. I love them, and I love them. And one of my favorite movies is Twister. But the reason why it is because I am the storm.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Can you
like
rest in your eyes? You see what I'm saying? If I am the storm, can I rest in my eyes? Can
I
you be the
probably
storm and survive the storm?
yeah,
that makes sense. I'm probably gonna get myself in trouble because y'all are wrapping up the show and everything, and y'all can deal with it next week and everything. But isn't part of the problem, even with that instant gratification, is that too many people are uh, praying for things that are not really necessarily attainable, or that they need to be praying
Ooh,
for, and all along those lines. Because I think that a lot of people are praying for things in the job market, in the relationship market, and a number of other things, and then they're wondering why they're not getting their prayer answered. And it's just my theory. I'm not
woo-hoo.
up in heaven, but I'm thinking that God's probably going like, "Why are you asking for that? I never said that that was in the contract and
right.
everything. So why are you even bothered asking me for that? So no, you're not going to get the new mansion in the fancy neighborhood because that's what you're praying for. But that's not what I had in the plans and everything. So I'm thinking that there are people that are probably praying for things that are not necessarily going to be doing anything to better society or better even themselves."
Well,
Absolutely.
I
I
think
think people
go ahead.
pray to play.
Yeah. I'm gonna say this. This is probably my closing thought. This is where the Lord has me in the last, I don't know, 30 days or so, is
Hmm.
simplicity. And that's,
Mhm.
it's funny we've been talking about
Yes.
that. It's just it, and took me back as a coach um in basketball, Warrior Hoops, everything we did was simple. We could even tell you we're gonna run this play at this point in the game, but we did it in such a spirit of excellence, even telling you we're gonna do it, you still couldn't stop it.
Yeah.
Well, and
Yeah.
Shannon
Yeah.
said it. The Lord has taken me back to my fundamentals.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And my fundamentals is simplicity. So this is, let me throw this out there to y'all. This is what I'm living by now. Um, I ponder on everything that comes to me. Is this going to make me a better person?
Mm.
If the answer is no, it goes.
Yeah.
Is this going to help my life? If the answer is no, it goes. Is
So
this
then,
going to
coach, that's your
create
why.
a brighter future for those around me? See, we live a selfish life. I
Woo,
don't live just for me. I live for those
man.
that are around me. So is this going to create a brighter future for those around me? If the answer again is no, it must go. How much more simple is life? I mean, we just talked about the pursuit of happiness. How happy would I be if I lived by those three things?
Yeah. Well, and not only what would you, how happy would you be, but then the question is that because you're constantly questioning, you're not going to find yourself tethered to something that you didn't want to do.
Do you
And
not
so that's
stay
what I'm
cutting
saying.
edge that way?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's the why, but that's what I'm saying. That goes back to what we were saying as far as the climbing. It is your why. That's
Hmm.
how you were asking those questions. Will this do this? Will this do that? You're actually making an attempt to speak to you about what you want to do in your next moment or in your next thing. So, sir, you are absolutely just doing the navigation on your climb.
Is that intentional living?
Oh, it's intentional, sir.
Not the intentional living.
Not that again.
Not the intentional
No,
living.
what?
I mean, I got to be
Okay,
the pointed arrow to hit
yeah,
the target every time.
absolutely. You have
Yeah.
to at least practice.
But then you
Because
got some.
we're in a society where you don't want to practice. You have people that want to just get it done, and
Right.
that's what I'm saying. So, and while you're getting it done, I mean, what one of my I love the because I love cooking. So, Beat Bobby Flay is one of my favorite shows. They literally come on the show to beat him, right? Like they come on the show to cook better than him. But he's such a prestigious chef that people want to beat you.
Right.
I need to be so cold blooded in my life that people want to beat me. You know what I mean? And I
Yeah.
don't mean a race. I mean, I want them to feel it. I have earned it enough, right? That somebody would want to come alongside and see what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Now,
You know what I mean?
I know we were a little bit over, and I don't mind going over and everything, but I got to teach y'all about one of the quick thing with intentional living. And I love intentional living. I definitely believe in intentional living myself and setting goals and all along those lines. Is actually just talking about how on another show you need to have a game plan, like a playbook of what you're going to do and everything like that.
Hmm.
But the opposite side of intentional living, and this is where I'm probably going to tease you two religious folks and everything, is I do get frustrated with some people that have intentional living, that their intentional living is to get to the other side of the mountain and everything, because it's kind of like that slavery mentality. Because I do hear some people that will have this intentional notion where it's like everything's going to be better in the by and by and everything that I hear among
Oh,
the
okay.
religious community and everything. So it's going to be like, don't worry about the fact that you got this hardship right now, because everything will be better after you either get to heaven's gate or if you believe in reincarnation, you come back on the other side and everything along those lines. So that's the intentional living that I sometimes get frustrated by.
Yeah, I'm thinking that sounds like an intercessory prayer. But I mean, I think you have to be I don't know what yeah, you have to be intentional. I'll go one further. Not only do you have to be intentional, you have to pay attention to what your intentions are,
Right.
Right.
right?
Right. That's good.
Why?
That's really good.
So I think that it's everything you were saying is funny because I'm sitting here listening. I'm like, I remember when the old heads used to tell us that in church, it's all right. Just keep holding on.
Right.
He gonna do it like you said, the by and by. Oh Lord, I heard it. But I think that sometimes again,
I about
that
threw
does
up.
go back to right. I was like, oh, but that is about but that's repetition. That's tradition. That's not religion. That's repetition and what we've been telling each other
Hmm.
all these years and all this stuff. We just told each other things to try to survive.
Right.
So that's a
That's
survival
a survival
script or a
mentality. Right.
survival statement. Right. So it's not necessarily a perspective. It's not necessarily that that wasn't it's just not that it didn't work at that time. It's just not something we can apply in real time now. Because again, we've evolved past those pacifications that we used to use. Now you gotta really get up and live.
Yeah, it was a survival tool during slavery because you were maybe not going to escape slavery, so you had to
Hmm.
come up with some way to get past that in
Yeah.
order to deal with it in that particular lifestyle and everything. So whether it
Hmm.
was American slavery or whether it was other things, I do get why people did that because they were in situations that they couldn't get out of and all along those lines. So they were
Yeah.
trying to find a
They're
way
trying to keep their
to cope.
mental up. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a mental statement, a mental thing, a mental encouragement,
Right.
right? And it's not that it wasn't amazing for us. I mean, we all grew up on those things and we all have become better people for those things. I needed those things,
Right.
but I also had the same level of church hurt or other things that we'll talk about on other times. But I'm saying but we got repetitious with it. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? It's almost like when somebody's crying, you immediately go get them some tissue. Why?
Yeah.
Why do you want them to stop crying? They
Yeah.
needed to release something. Now you're asking them to stop. So it's like we've always, if somebody says I lost my job. That's all right. God's going. He ain't never failed you before. I know, but I lost my job. You know what I'm saying? Like I feel some kind of way, and I need more than just a cliche
Well, we
to
got new
work
wine
that out.
skins. We're trying to pour new wine into old wineskins. I mean,
Yes,
for me,
absolutely.
that's what it comes down to. But hey, man, this has been a dope conversation again tonight, and we got another week coming. Um, I'm thinking more guests too, maybe.
Okay.
I wonder if we can dig out, Evie, pull her in, and maybe some other people to, spice up this pot a little bit since it'll be closing
Absolutely.
out.
Let's do it.
Man, sis, I can't thank you enough. I mean, I can't wait to get to
Let's
Kingdom
do it.
Kings and Queens because man, this is going to be lit conversation in and week out. So
Kings and Queens will launch this week or next week, and then we're going to continue this Misfits Managed until we start with the other show later on. Is that what I'm hearing correctly as y'all's producer?
So we'll probably April. I think it's April 1st is the first Tuesday
I believe that's correct.
in April. So that will start with Unbreakable Souls. So that's completely different show,
Right.
different co-host. And actually the co-host jumped on tonight is Melissa Gray.
Okay.
Okay.
So that's why I was like, Evie already didn't connected. I was like, look at that. Boy, this is hilarious. But Melissa is the co-host on there with me. And then Evie and I, we got to set a date and we need to be intentional and have some conversation
Yeah.
this week because we're both sick this week, and
Yeah.
come back with a start date. I'm game for, that first Saturday in April, which would be the 5th.
That'll work.
So that gives us a couple weeks to, get some of the stuff done that we had talked about. So,
Okay, let's do it.
but yeah, Misfits Managed Nation next week is going to be even more powerful, and we will have more detailed information for you about the upcoming 2 shows. So we don't want y'all to drop off. We just want you to follow us to where we're going.
We just want y'all to come climb with us. Come on, climb with us.
And speaking of climbing, we're going to close out with mental health. And I know you're going to go out with your closing remarks and everything, but there is a new show on the network that is called Bringing Justice Brings Joy that is now in its 10th or 11th episode, but that's about an activist friend of mine here in this area, but she talks about everything from housing to a number of other things in the activist space, and that is Stella Adams, and she is definitely of a spiritual background as well, so she definitely gives some of that spiritual message also in what she does in her activism work. And then Norma Scales, who is originally from Chicago but lives here in North Carolina, is going to do one called From Rags to Runways that'll start this weekend, which will be a fashion type show and everything like that. But she will be definitely has some spiritual background herself as well. So I know that the spirituality will be included in that, and is also a wellness expert. But she has definitely gone and dealt with having some hard times being a single mother herself. So kind of in that space that you're in, Evie, and everything. So I'm sure that she'll bring some insights into that new show that we'll record tomorrow, but it'll launch over the weekend and everything. So there's some new stuff.
We need that QR code, Mark.
Oh, yes. And the QR code, I got to put that up. I meant to do it earlier, but if folks we did have a number of people that are making comments and all along those lines. So let me just put that up really quickly. But there is this lovely QR code that we have here on the network, and people can see that QR code and are able to make comments both, I think, live and in Memorex and everything like that. So if you see this QR code that is there, and also this one, which is even the better one, that says text the show, you can actually take your phone and do those QR codes and make comments during the show. And I know we've had several people do it regularly, and I'll try to be sure to put it up on next week's show as well, because we love to get people engaged in the conversations and all along those lines. So definitely use those QR codes and make your comments. And I understand from one of the founders of the network that they want as many of the shows as possible to do some gamification, and they said they got some money involved, so they might even be offering some prizes and everything like that in terms of to the people that make some comments and all along those lines. We just got to create a game for our various shows because they wanted to be in the game mode and everything. So we've got to figure out a gamification for Kings and Queens and a gamification for Unbreakable Souls. But I'm sure with
Let's
all of
do
our
it.
great minds, we'll figure out some gamification ideas and everything like that. But that is something
Absolutely.
that they want to maybe give some rewards both to the host as well as to some of the participants as well. So Nick made that announcement. I think that was last week, and I'm keeping his irons to the fire to make sure that it is actually
Right.
done.
All right.
Keep pushing
Let's
that, brother
do
Nick.
it.
Keep pushing
Yeah.
that.
No doubt. So I'll let y'all end with y'all's usual closing remarks, and then we're going to go out with Mental Health Matters and maybe one from the American Heart Association as well.
Yeah, I said my piece on my closing remarks probably 5 minutes ago. So I'm
That's
good.
no problem.
I'm excited about next week, though. We'll have more info for you next week, and Edie's going to be
Absolutely.
back. We it might be us, or we might bring some more spice and fire. So we'll see.
Let's come
Stay
on
tuned.
with
Yeah.
it. Let's do it.
All right. And on that note, with the great conversation from Coach G and Evie, the healer of Queens and Kings, and of course their producer, Mark Lee, we're getting ready to get out of here with Mental Health Matters. And there is no doubt about that, as well as an announcement from the American Health Association as well. So getting ready to get on out of here, and we'll catch y'all on the flip side.
On the flip side.
We are sending you signals every day.
We are sending you signals every day.
We're sending you signals every day.
We're sending you signals every day.
I'll be feeling sad, but you're too busy to notice.
We are sending you signals every day.
I'll tell you that I'm feeling afraid.
But you'll just tell me everything's okay.
I'll get real angry about something, but you'll take it personally.
We are sending you signals every day. My grades will drop.
And you'll yell at me for not trying.
I stopped caring about how I look.
And you didn't even notice.
We are sending you signals every day.
I don't see my friends anymore.
And you think it's good that I'm always home.
We are sending you signals every day.
I'll tell you I wish I could go to sleep and never wake up.
And you tell me to stop staying up so late.
We are sending you signals every day.
I need you to look.
I need you to listen. And ask me if you can help.
There are moments in life we wish we could freeze in time. We live them. We live for them. They are intimately personal. They are gladly shared. What is life if we cannot experience these moments of joy, wonder, and happiness? We want people to experience more of life's precious moments. To do that, we must be healthy in heart and mind. For the heart is where life's moments are felt most, and the mind is where these moments become memories and are relived again and again. It's why we've made better heart and brain health our mission, and together we've made an extraordinary impact. Healthier adults, more active children, stronger survivors. But we are just beginning. Until there's a world free of heart disease and stroke, we'll be there, making a healthier, longer life possible for everyone. You may ask, why do we do what we do? The answer is simple. Because we are the American Heart Association and the American Stroke Association. And life is why.